market should obtain it. Wall Street, some corporate bond issuance, if it's a company like itself, or a third-party provider of capital. Or how many people here know someone in the state of Minnesota who's a member, owner of an electric cooperative? Raise your hand high if you know somebody outside these city limits who is a member, owner of electric cooperative. That's going to be an important category of friendship to cultivate. And I'll explain so in a minute. But let's just say they have some particularly attractive sources of capital. So you could run this transaction path thousands and thousands of times and produce millions and millions of dollars of investments that reduce people's energy burden and improve their quality of life while diminishing the burden on the environment of the energy consumption in that place, whether it's a house, a school, a business, a bus transit system. Now, my friend Tammy Agard hails from Arkansas. Arkansas is a place that's not unlike Minnesota from the heartland. And it was about a year
The temperature's really different.
It was about a year before I saw Timothy. It was about a year before I saw Timothy, and I saw some folks from Arkansas, and they said, "Hey, we want that inclusive financing from Kentucky and North Carolina." Remember those places I just told you the story about? I said, "Well, I bet we could probably arrange that. Why don't you give them a call?" So the folks in Arkansas called the leadership from the only utility in the country led by African Americans at the board of management level and said, "Can you help us?" Think about the profound and important nature of the leadership that's being provided in that conversation. And the answer was, yes, we'll be happy to help you. Within 90 days, that community in Arkansas had filed its paperwork for an inclusive financing program, and 90 days later, they had a unanimous approval from the bipartisan appointed commission from the State Utility Commission. It's Tammy Agard's benefit company, the first B Corp in Arkansas, that has the contract to implement that program. And she's here tonight to tell you what it's like to be a participant in that program. So at this point, we're going to shift gears. Timothy, should I flow on? You guys going with the flow? We're going to invite you to imagine that you're in a place where, as a customer, you've been able to opt in to a program that's voluntary, so if you don't want to do it, don't bother. But if you do want to be able to receive investments that lower your costs and improve your quality of life, and do so without regard to your credit score, your renter status, or your income, then you can do so. And you've called up, they've checked out your load profile, they're all going to look at your bills and say, you know, is this going to be a good program for you? So like sizing up your shoe size. Like, I don't know if that's going to fit. I think that's going to be a good opportunity. Let's go check it out. And Tammy's going to pick up the story here by changing the slide to show you what happens when her team comes to your home to talk about the opportunity. Ooh, it's chills.
So I'm going to thank you, Holmes, and thank you, everybody. Yesterday it was 75 degrees, and I was literally having my lunch laying on my little blanket that I laid out. A little bit chilly. This morning, oh my God. So I have lived in Arkansas since 2009. I'm not actually from Arkansas, but I enjoy the South. I enjoy working there. I actually came to work in Arkansas for the Clinton Foundation. I worked for the Clinton Climate Initiative for a number of years in Little Rock, and I was a program operator in a program we call HEAL, Home Energy Affordability Loan Program. I'm not going to get into the weeds on that, but that is my background that led me to this program, which is called HELP. HR and I asked if there was a way I could bring this message to them during maybe their, weekly meetings or in some gathering where they literally need to congregate so I can get their attention for 10 or 15 minutes to let them know about what was going on. Well, long story short, I sat across from these folks, very hard-working, honest folks that went to work every day just like the brain surgeon, probably worked even more hours. And I didn't have anything really to offer them because they didn't have the credit that they needed. Or they didn't have the down that they needed. They could get an idea of how their home was performing, but so what? So what? Or they rented. And they were strapped to a $500, $600 a month bill in a 900 square foot little shack. I didn't have something to offer them. Bring that to about a year ago. The loan program is still going well. We're getting a lot of homeowners to participate. That's all going well, but we're not reaching the renters. We're not also being able to offer HVAC, things like deep energy retrofits. We're not able to put those on the bill because the utilities we work with, which is primarily rural electric cooperatives, we're comfortable with that level of investment. So here came the tariff. Now I want to show you what a report. Let's pretend like this is your house, and I'm delivering you an easy plan, which is what we call this. You're a member of a rural electric cooperative. This is your house. Your name is Hope Golden. This is a real person. This is a multi-family housing apartment that you live in, that you rent. And just to give it a little more backup, about 2 months ago, your landlord brought you a notice and said, I want to make your apartment more energy efficient. I want you to be more comfortable, and I promise you, I won't raise your rent. That's a true story. Okay. So the members all let us into their apartments, let us do blower doors and duct blasters to gain a baseline of how those apartments were functioning. Ran through cost-effective analysis tests, and with the tariff, the terms of the tariff, this is what we were able to do, to sit down with that member of that apartment. This is a renter, okay? So, apartment renter, Miss Hope, start over here on the left, attic insulation. So in southern Arkansas, we like to see R38. This apartment is performing at R13. In Arkansas, a duct system is huge. We're often in the attic, which is insane since it's such a hot climate in particular. But anyway, you can see that number there. It says 88% duct leakage. Down here, I'm looking at the blower door. They've seen this because they were home when the auditor came and did this. They know what this is. But up here, it says 702 cubic feet per minute at 50 pascals, which you guys know what I'm talking about tonight, so we can say, all right. Let me just tell you this. We're trying to see how leaky is the house, how much air exchange is happening. So they put this vinyl door in the house, shut the rest of the house down like on lockdown, like you're going on vacation or whatever. Turn a fan on that's in the bottom of that door, and they pull air through the house. And when they pull air through the house, they're forcing air in through cracks and crevices. There's a little computer chip in the fan, and that counts the volume of air. In other words, it adds up, the cracks and crevices, to how big of a hole do you have in your apartment that you're basically heating and cooling 24/7. You can't see it, but how big is it? That's what we're going for this. So,
Tammy, let me just stop and bring back to the kitchen table language for this is, Hope Golden is sweltering in the summer and shimmering in the winter and feeling drafty when extreme weather comes through.
and she's paying an unbelievable amount of money.
Because every ounce of energy that she buys to try to stabilize the conditions inside her living space is flying right out through the roof.
Well, here it is, look. So, Hope, your apartment is 900 square feet. What we like to see on an annual basis is about an $800 a year bill for that. It was energy efficient. What you spent last year was $2,900.
Wow.